Today is Sunday, October the 26th, and it looks like we ended up getting a new software update. The much anticipated full self-driving version 14.1.4 is the version that I ended up downloading late this evening. I noticed that there was an available download, and as you can tell here, it is version 12, 2025.32.8.6, and not even going to read the rest of that. But along with that came full self-driving FSD 14.1.4. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to go over some of the release notes, and after we go over some of the release notes, we'll go ahead and go on a drive and get our first impression of this FSD update. Again, I'm stoked about this update. Let's go ahead and go over some of the release notes here, and already I can see the start self-driving over here on the top left corner. That is a new option. Here by default, you do not need to press down on the brake to initiate full self-driving. As long as you go ahead and hold down start self-driving, should go to your destination. So here are the notes. What we have here are full self-driving supervised version 14.1.4. Mr. Musk indicated that FSD 14.2 would see wide rollout. I don't know if it's because I am in that early testing program or not that I ended up getting this update. For whatever reason, I am just grateful, and I'm so looking forward to trying this one. But here are some of the added updates here. Added arrival options for you to select where FSD should park in a parking lot, on the street, in a driveway, in a parking garage, or at the curbside. I'm looking forward to this option right here, to be able to select based on the given destination where you want to park, where you want to park on inside the parking lot. I wonder what kind of parking space it'll select. I think I'm going to hit up a Target. That's one of the most interesting places that I could see this thing coming in handy, whether or not it's actually going to look for a parking space fairly up close, or it's just going to take the first available parking space at the arrival site. So I'm very interested to see how this does. On the street, I mean, that seems pretty self-explanatory, right? Whenever FSD arrived at any given location, and if I selected home, it just park me outside of the curb, right, whenever I was in front of my house. So I don't think there's going to be too much of a change on that one. Nothing new that I would foresee, but again, we'll see. I'll go ahead and select all of these options. Here's the brand spanking new one that I am looking forward to, in a driveway. I wonder if, like my house right now, currently a 2-stall garage, 2-stall driveway, right? So I'm wondering whether or not it'll recognize that it has to, on any given day, I put my vehicles, both my vehicles, my 2026 Model Y, my wife's Model Y, and my 2025 Model Y in the garage at the same time. But on any given day, the driveway, it's completely empty. So I'm wondering, curious, whether or not it'll actually pick a given stall, right, left, or it'll just notice, hey, I've got the pathway, I've got concrete, so I'm going to park right in the middle, right? That wouldn't be a really great option, in my opinion, because it's going to block me, my other vehicle, my wife's vehicle, from getting out of the garage. So that's not a viable option. I hope that it does pick one stall or the other, recognizes the actual indications that it is divided, right? So let's see what that does whenever we test that out. In a parking garage, I've never actually had the option or the want to try this. I mean, most parking garages are pretty tight spaces, right? So because of that, I would just completely disengage, not even, attempt to do that. But a lot of folks out there are indicating that this was one of the most common issues with FSD, prior iterations of FSD, not being able to exit the parking garage, get into the parking garage. So I will try that, but I'm going to have my hands so incredibly close to the steering wheel whenever I do that. So those are the options that we have there. Another update here from this 14.1.4 release: added handling to pull over or yield for emergency vehicles, example police cars, fire trucks, ambulances. I mean, here in San Antonio, fairly common, right? There's going to be an accident here, there, everywhere, and it's not going to take too long to actually come up against whether it's a police car, whether it's a fire truck, whether most common ambulances coming and going. So I'm curious to see how it'll pull over, whether it'll slow down and actually stop. FSD is all about following the rules. So in most cases like these, law says pull over, stop, allow that vehicle, the first responder, to go ahead and go and then proceed, right? But here in San Antonio, people don't do that. People don't like to follow the laws, and I mean, my gosh, whether it's San Antonio or another city, state, or even another country, right? People do what they want to do because of that choice that they have. Added navigation and routing into the vision-based neural network for real-time handling of blocked roads and detours. Okay, so if I'm getting this right, somebody tell me out there if I'm absolutely wrong or on point on this. What this basically means, it's going to recognize active accidents as they're happening. It's going to go ahead and avoid, find alternate routes, and try to find the most quick route in the event that there is a hazard or something that you come against, right? But again, it's going to take, I guess, fleet info, neural network, right? And there's going to be real-time info that's going to route to the servers and route back to the other fleet and notify them, hey, there's a problem here in this spot, in this area of town. Please avoid. Let's find an alternate route that'll get us a lot quicker rather than standing there in traffic, right? So there is that. Added additional speed profile to further customize driving style preferences. That's a good one, and they go into it a little bit more. Improve handling for static dynamic gates. Improve offsetting for road debris, example tires, tree branches, boxes, and I bet you what. I saw a video from the bearded Tesla guy. I believe he was trying to go coast to coast on FSD to see how many disengagements they would have, and unfortunately they came across an issue where they thought there was roadkill up ahead, and to stay true to the experiment, they did not disengage. They didn't see the object until the very last second, and it turns out it was a metal object that just ruined their trip. So I'm very curious. Not that I want to come across anything, right? And I'm not going to be going actively to actually find something to possibly avoid, right? I'm not going to do that. If I come against something, right, whether it be, like it says here, tires, tree branches, boxes, things like that, I'll go ahead and note in another video on my personal experiences of those encounters and whether or not whether or not it avoided those objects in the middle of the road or how it did it. The last thing that I want is to come on camera here and actually say, oh no, I had an accident. Oh no, I chose not to disengage to see how it would handle that given situation, and come to find out it didn't do a very good job whatsoever. It didn't avoid it, and I got a bill that's thousands of dollars. That's the last thing that I want here. So I'm not going to actively go seeking trouble out there. But that's just me. Okay. Let's see. Improve handling of several scenarios, including unprotected turns, lane changes, okay, vehicle cut-ins, and school buses. Vehicle cut-ins. That happens quite often. FSD is really good at not tailgating other vehicles. And when you're out there, whether it be rush hour traffic or just on any kind of a drive out there, right? People tend to cut you off, right? I wonder how FSD, this version of FSD will go ahead and handle that. We'll find out. Improved FSD's ability to manage system faults and recover smoothly from degraded operation for enhanced reliability. I could see, inclement weather, whether it be rain, whether it be snow, anything that might interfere with the camera's visibility. And how this would optimize that's going to be a very interesting thing. Of course, all of these are, right? That's why we're here. Added alerting for residue buildup on interior windshield that may impact front camera visibility. If affected, visit service for cleaning. So that's going to be interesting, right? I gotta assume, right, that space, it seems pretty airtight, but dust is going to get dust, debris, residue, things of that nature are going to find a way to get into the most enclosed spaces. So I'm curious to see, not if, but when, at what point there will be any kind of notification indicating, hey, you need service. Let's go ahead and get this cleaned up. So that's interesting. So upcoming improvements, overall smoothness, and sentience. I'm thinking the Christmas release might have something that'll blow us all out of the water, but I mean, I already feel that that's the case right now. Version 13, anything after version 13 was pretty rock solid, so we'll see. Parking spot selection and parking quality. And I think that's something that I was asking before, right? Curious to see where it actually finds a parking spot, whether I'll look for something, whether I'll be able to select a parking spot as I'm going along. So I guess that's going to be future releases. Maybe, again, it'll park closest to the entrance to given business at next release, right? That's something that they're looking at. But here we go. Arrival options. Okay, so you can now select an arrival option such as parking lot, street, driveway, parking garage, curbside for robotaxi style drop-offs. That's neat. Your preference for arrival options and preferred parking positions are persisted for each destination. Your preferences for arrival options and preferred parking positions are persisted for each destination. So I'm wondering if part of the neural network, it'll recognize, hey, whenever I go to Target, I like upfront parking. I like this particular side of the parking lot. I like, if I can help it, these spaces. I wonder if it will anticipate that after it gets, quite a few instances of me going to that indicated location. So that should be neat, but we shall see. Our reasoning model will assess the suitable options for you, destination, and pick an intuitive default. Okay, alrighty. So let's see here. Speed profile. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. FSD supervised will now determine the appropriate speed based on a mix of driver profiles, speed limit, and surrounding traffic. Introduce new speed profile, Sloth, which comes with lower speeds and more conservative lane selection than Chill. Introduce new speed profile, Mad Max, which comes with higher speed and more frequent lane changes than Hurry. I'm not interested in getting a speeding ticket. That's one thing that increased speeds, and I mean, as it is right now, FSD, whenever I hit standard, I'm on the highway. If it's 70 miles, or actually 60 miles an hour, I see my speed limit go 12, 14 miles over the indicated speed limit. But again, it goes based on the traffic flow, right? If folks around me are going a little bit faster, higher than the actual posted speed, then the vehicle is going to keep up with, with that traffic. Okay. But Mad Max, I most certainly will. Honestly, a handful of times that I have even attempted Hurry, a little bit of an issue with going onto that Hurry mode. I just by default think, oh, it's just going to go incredibly fast, and I want to avoid a speeding ticket. That's the last thing that I need. That's the last thing that'll do good for me and my wife's relationship. Hey, Manny, you ended up getting a speeding ticket. Oh no! I want to avoid that. So we'll try that briefly. Driver profile now has stronger impact on behavior. The more assertive the profile, the higher the max speed. Okay. Right scroll wheel will up down now adjust speed profile settings rather than your precise max speed offset selection in miles per hour or kilometers per hour. Alrighty, gonna have to get used to that right scroll wheel. Skip one here. UI improvements. So, like you notice right there, it says start self-driving with a tap of the touchscreen from park or any time during your drive. Adjust settings like the speed profile and arrival options directly from the autopilot visualization on the center display. Alrighty. And the rendering on that looks a little bit nicer. I'm not showing much of a difference here on mine. Maybe slightly different. Folks are saying that the Unreal Engine is starting to be used. But I want to say that I ended up reading that it was on Model X and Model S vehicles that it is already showing up there. Again, if it is a little bit of a difference, maybe in the back, I'm not gonna commit one way or another. It's not really discernible in my opinion. So let's go back to those release notes. UI improvements. It says adjust settings like the speed profile and arrival options directly from the autopilot visualization on the center display. So that's going to be nice instead of having to scroll wheel or any other location within a sub menu. That's going to be nice having it front and center. Thank you, good folks at Tesla, engineers thinking about that. So there's that. Okay, brake confirm. So brake confirm for start self-driving button is now defaulted off. When disabled, start self-driving will not require you to press and release the brake to confirm engagement. You can enable brake confirmation in autopilot submenu brake confirm. Okay, so that's nice. And this one, it's just full self-driving. It's letting you know that full self-driving isn't what it may seem, right? I mean, semantics, right? Full self-driving, but it does say supervised. I mean, it is what it is. You got to be vigilant. You can't be complacent. And I'll say, sometimes I get complacent. Sometimes I cross my arms. I've been known to put one of my hands on my face and then my other hand resting on the other seat. I'll be honest, on the shoulder of the other seat. I can be complacent, but it's just one of those things that we definitely don't want to do that. I don't recommend doing that at all. Be vigilant, stay alert, supervise the vehicle, right? This technology is absolutely amazing, but again, we have to keep safety at the forefront of our minds. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is all that it's saying. And right there at the bottom, do not become complacent, right? It says FSD supervised is enabled on your vehicle. To use the feature, press start self-driving button on the UI or press the right scroll wheel button once. You can disable full self-driving, supervised, and autopilot settings. So those are the release notes from this 2025 32.8.16. So I am absolutely looking forward to this first impression drive. I'm going to close out this video. Please, please, please stay tuned for the next one where we will have the actual drive, our first drive, first impression. Appreciate you tuning in. Join us on the next one.